egg among the partially paralyzed caterpillars. Instead, she suspends it over the food by a tiny thread of silk fastened to the roof of the house. When the grub emerges from the egg, it first eats the eggshell and then proceeds to spin a silken thread in which it is enfolded tail up with head hanging down. It can then lower itself down to its fresh meal and retreat when necessary. Only when the grub grows in size and strength does it lower itself down among its wriggly caterpillar food. While all the houses this insect creates look alike, there is one significant difference. Some houses may contain 5 caterpillars and some 10. Why? Because female grubs eat twice as much as males. But, writes Norman Macbeth, note that the cells are stalked before the eggs are laid, and that biologists generally believe that the sex is already determined when an egg is laid. How does the Eumenes know the future sex of her eggs? How is it that she never makes a mistake? Indeed, how could evolution, a chance process, teach this insect to recognize the sex of her unborn offspring and provide for it accordingly? What did these insects do when their instincts were in a transitional stage? How could any instinct other than the present completely developed instinct be viewed as beneficial to the insect? Hayward's favorite example of teleology is the bombardier beetle. After examining its explosive chemicals, hydroquinone, that's hydroquinone, and hydrogen peroxide. Its separate glands, its storage tank areas to keep the two chemicals apart until they're ejected, lest the beetle blow itself up, and its perfect detonator. Hayward concludes, natural forces alone could never have produced a bombardier beetle. There must be somebody behind nature who designed and built the strange weaponry. Teleology speaks powerfully in favor of fiat creationism in another way as well. Evolution, even theistic evolution, cannot sufficiently explain the remarkable similarity between many forms that should have evolved, apart from one another, whereas fiat creationism expects similarity in a universe created in a 6-day span by one specific designer. Denton sums up this aspect of the evolutionist dilemma. There is no doubt that in terms of evolution, the fore and hind limbs must have arisen independently, the former supposedly evolving from the pectoral fins of a fish, the latter from the pelvic fins. Here is a case of profound resemblance which cannot be explained in terms of a theory of descent. Of course, atheistic evolutionists' predicament is infinitely worse than that of the evolutionist who postulates a God. The evolution of all universes' design, guided entirely by natural processes, can only be described as a theory in crisis. Darwin himself became suspicious that teleology might prove to be his theory's downfall. Quote, I remember, this is Darwin speaking, quote, I remember well the time when the thought of the eye made me cold all over. But I have got over this stage of the complaint. And now, small trifling particulars of structure often make me very uncomfortable. The sight of a feather in a peacock's tail, whenever I gaze at it, makes me sick. Close quote. That was Darwin, footnote number 35. Darwin had every right to be sickened by evidences of design in nature. These evidences will cry out in favor of fiat creationism long after Darwin's theory of evolution is abandoned. The revolutionary change in scientific thought that is the prelude to the abandonment of Darwinism is occurring today. S. Lovetrup, that's Lovtrup, declares, quote, I believe that one day the Darwinian myth will be ranked the greatest deceit in the history of science. When this happens, most people will pose the question, how did this ever happen? Close quote, footnote number 36. Fred Hoyle, Hoyle, and Chandra Wickremesinghe. Let me spell that to you. Chandra is Chandra, and the family name is Wickremesinghe. Two individuals who, until recently, denied the existence of God, find Darwin's theory unacceptable and Paley's explanation of teleology most plausible. Quote, the speculations of the origin of species, that's Darwin's writing, turned out to be wrong, as we have seen in this chapter. It is ironic that the scientific facts throw Darwin out, but leave William Paley, a figure of fun to the scientific world for more than a century, still in the tournament with chance of being the ultimate winner. Teleology speaks loudly. By the way, that was a quote of Hoyle and Wickremesinghe. That's quite a name. And the footnote is number 37. Teleology speaks loudly in favor of creationism. The order of our universe could not have arisen through chance processes. The failure of evolution as an explanation for man's origin will become even more evident as we examine evolution's irreconcilable clash with established facts of science and the flawed nature of evolutionary mechanisms.